We say that God is the one who brings change, but I wasn't maybe living like that was true. Sometimes we might just in everyday life, whether it's a work setting or like personal life, you feel like triggered, like emotionally, like something happens and you like react and you're like, why am I reacting that way? The enemy can take anything and get to like the heart and create these patterns in us, right? So God started to burden my heart more for prayer in general. And it's really kind of seeking to take the gospel deeper in our lives and deeper to maybe some of the areas that we want to be freed from and we feel like maybe on our own that we're striving and like trying to be disciplined, to have good habits, to not go back to that. But sometimes like when it is this repeated thing we can't gain victory over, a wound, an area of pain where we're feeling it now in the present. So prayer kind of helps to like deal with those issues and to get to the heart of them so that then they're not affecting us as much. And so personally, I started having a bunch of breakthroughs and experiencing the Lord like bringing healing to these areas where I thought they were kind of, that's just like, a part of my personality, something that's always gonna be there. A big one was like perfectionism or like something would happen and then I would instantly feel like I am a failure. And it would be like this deep like pit in my stomach kind of feeling that you couldn't really shake. And it's, this mindset that I knew it wasn't true. I'm like, okay, God doesn't think I'm a failure. He doesn't expect me to be perfect at everything, but it would keep happening. It was like this cycle that I couldn't break. It would happen in sports, like when I was playing soccer. It happened in school. I was like a straight A student, perfectionist about like getting good grades. It would happen in work. So it was kind of like it started to crop up and I would think I was over it, but then I wasn't, This might be an area to like pray about more deeply and ask God more about the root of a memory of when I first started feeling that way. And it's actually a very funny example. Like when I was a young kid, I used to suck my fingers like this. So there was this moment, like I didn't even remember this happening, but God brought it up in prayer that, parents, like they want the best for their kids. So I don't even hold this against like my mom or dad, but failed again at doing it. And my mom had said something like, well, next year you're going to go to kindergarten and you're going to have to stop then because otherwise people will like make fun of you or like, it was something like that kind of planted this. I felt shame at like, why can't I just stop doing this? But then it was also kind of a start of like, well, you should care about what other people think, which is something I've struggled with a lot of my life as well. This like need for approval. And when that event happened, my little 4-year-old brain, like, the enemy can suggest lies to us. That condemning voice, like you are a failure and you have to care what other people think, like things like that, where then I had come into agreement with that and then it's living that out, right? So it was actually super interesting to see how something like that could then create this pattern my whole life that affected me really being able to receive what God wanted me to and live the way He wanted me to. So asking the Lord what He thought, breaking off the power of those lies, asking the Lord like what His truth was and what ways He wanted me to live instead. And it seems like a simple thing as I maybe recount it, but it's like, wow, I didn't even know this was available to me. And now I just feel like so much lighter and so much more myself and more who God created me to be, to where it's, become this area of passion now that I'm like, man, I think everybody needs this. Like, it's incredible. So I would encourage you to, if there is something like that in your life that you're struggling with, that, maybe like me, you think this is a part of my personality. This is just how I think. But maybe it's a pattern that you don't like or might recognize in some ways as like unhealthy. I would just encourage you to ask the Lord how He might want you to bring those things to Him, or maybe seek what's going on beneath the surface. Prayer really is the core of our relationship with the Lord, right? It's how we communicate with Him, how we relate with Him. And like, you can't have a relationship at all without communication, where we're empowered by His Spirit. Like, all of those things, like how it happens is through prayer and like through relating with Him, right? And I think there are things that we put up with and that we just tolerate within ourselves, where God actually can bring a greater level of freedom, because God wants like more freedom for us than we realize, and more freedom than we can even comprehend because we haven't experienced it yet. So I think it can take time, but God can also use like a prayer session like this, like he did in my life, to really empower you to actually live the way he's wanting you to live. So don't give up in that pursuit.